How's it going, YouTube? Dawn here. In this video, we're going to talk about the best programming languages to learn in 2023. So instead of giving you a list of all these programming languages, I wanted to give you some advice to choose it for yourself. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is simply because of, tech evolves so quickly nowadays that if I tell you the list and you're watching, say, in late 2023, then it's going to be severely outdated, right? So I think what's more valuable, whether you're watching this in 2023 or beyond, is to learn the fundamental concept behind it rather than me telling you what to study. Because what that's going to do is that's going to create a lot of saturation. And if I tell you that and you just blindly go into it, there's a higher likelihood that you're going to fail because of the saturation. So if you guys have been watching some of my previous videos, such as the Is It Too Late to Learn Web Development in 2023 video, I talked about a concept called Blue Ocean, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about this concept called a blue ocean and a red ocean. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to tell you what I think are the blue oceans that are out there as of this moment, as of recording in early January 2023. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the blue oceans. So what is a blue ocean? A blue ocean, summarized, is a marketplace or a market that's been unfulfilled, right? So in the book Blue Ocean Strategy, and I do recommend that you give that a read because it's a really good book it's mostly related to business, but you can also apply it to learning how to code, because I do find that being in business, I was in business for about 7 years, there's a lot of parallels between business and programming, because essentially it's almost the same thing. The only difference between you getting a job and you having a business is business has multiple clients, multiple, factors and stuff like that. Whereas if you have a job, you just have one client. Your one client is your employer. But anyway, let's go into depth about blue oceans versus red oceans. So a blue ocean is something that is untapped. It's an untapped field that nobody knows about. Now you might be asking yourself, well, in tech there is no blue ocean, right? And you would be somewhat correct, right? The thing is, tech evolves really, really quickly. So there are going to be blue oceans, but you need to snatch them up before the competition does, right? Because if you think about it, now let's talk about red oceans here. So red oceans are going to be fields that are saturated. They're full of competition. They're well oiled. They're there's a lot of players in the marketplace. And as a result, there is a lot of competition, which creates a red ocean, right? So some examples of red oceans would be, say, just general your web development stack. So it's going to be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? Those are really, really big red oceans now. They do have a lot of demand, right? They do have a lot of demand, and there are positions out there for them. But the problem is, if you are fairly inexperienced, and you're going to be competing with people who have 5, 10, 20 years of experience in these fields. And as a result, you're going to lose out most of the time, right? Unless they're specifically looking for someone with your skill set, which is going to limit the amount of companies that you're going to be able to apply and work for. Mostly these are going to be bigger companies that are going to have the infrastructure to actually invest in training the next generation. Whereas if you work for, say, a startup, they're going to expect you to have some sort of competency coming in these particular fields. So those are some examples of red oceans there. What are some other examples of red oceans? It's going to be things like, Java. It's going to be things like, it's going to be things like C++. Those are kind of the big things in terms of languages that I believe are red oceans. Now let's go to the other side and let's talk about blue oceans. What are blue oceans? right? These are untapped markets or untapped fields. And also what I'm going to cover as well is how to find these blue oceans so that you can think for yourself and you can find them out for yourself. So what are these blue oceans? These are untapped markets that nobody knows about yet or still early on in its adoption. So the question you might be asking yourself is, well, how do I identify these blue oceans? Well, you need to take a look at two main factors. You want to take a look at the technologies, which is the easiest part, and you want to look at market demand, which is very, very difficult. In fact, this is something that I'm still actively working on in the tech space because it just evolves so quickly, right? And these type of opportunities are snatched up really, really quickly. So a hot topic is cybersecurity, for example. Cybersecurity not necessarily is a red ocean at this point, but it also isn't a blue ocean. But when was the right time to get into cybersecurity? I think the right time to get into cybersecurity was back in 2014 when Cambridge Analytica, or I think it was 2015 or 2016, when Cambridge Analytica happened. So if you're unaware of Cambridge Analytica, basically Facebook was working with this company called Cambridge Analytica that leaked out a lot of the customer data, right? And this would actually be a really good opportunity if you were to identify that, hey, this market is untapped and it really needs a solution to this particular problem, right? So what you need to do is you want to find these untapped markets. You want to find these markets that no one's talking about, and you want to use some sort of technology in order to position yourself as an authority figure in this space. Now, what does this mean, right? This is why I said it's really, really difficult to actually figure out and really nail. But once you do, it doesn't matter what experience you actually have, because this is a scarce resource that these companies are looking for, that they're going to overlook your experience because you have this expertise. Now, obviously, you need to put yourself out there. You need to, make yourself known, but that's a different story for another day. So you find these untapped markets, or you find a need, and then you find a use for whatever the technology is in order to solve this problem. Now, obviously, you have two variables here. This is very, very difficult. But again, if you can nail it, then you're going to have a really good time. So right now, I'm not really seeing very many opportunities. The one that I can probably think of is something to do with ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT is a very hot commodity right now. So if you could find a market for ChatGPT and a field that it doesn't cover, then you're going to have a really good time. I'm still trying to actively work on what this actually is as of the time of recording this video. I'm not really too sure what that problem ChatGPT doesn't solve at this point, but if you can find it, you're going to have a really good time. Now let's talk about the technology. The technology is much simpler, right? It's going to be, programming languages that no one has been working on, right? So as of recording this video, Carbon is quite new. Carbon is a language built by Google to, I guess you could say, replace or substitute C++, right? It gives all the benefits of runtime and speed of C++, except it's a lot more more friendly of the syntax. It's like comparing Objective-C to Swift, for example. Which, by the way, Swift, although not a red ocean, isn't necessarily a blue ocean as well, right? So let's go back to the Carbon point. So this is a technology. Now you have to find a way to actually level the playing field. You can say, I've been studying Carbon since its inception, and I've used it to build XYZ project, right? And the reason why this is important is because it basically levels a playing field. When you have a new language or a new technology that comes out and you're actively learning it, it doesn't matter if somebody has, 20 years of experience, because no one actually has 20 years of experience in this particular language. So it does level the playing field. Then your pitch will be modified to, hey, look, I learn languages really easily. This is a new thing that's come out, and then this is why you should hire me over somebody who has, say, they're stuck in their ways. They've been working a certain way for the last X amount of years, so that's why you should hire me, right? So that's really what I feel is on blue oceans versus red oceans. So if you stayed till the end of the video, I'll tell you now that I do think that Carbon is a good opportunity. It is still unclear because it's so early on into the language exactly what problem that it solves. So what I would advise you to do is, if you're watching this and you're kind of lazy, you don't want to do any critical thinking, then I'd study Carbon, and then I'd go and look at things that are developed in C++ and see if I can apply Carbon in those aspects. So C++, for example, is used a lot in game dev, so I could see how Carbon can potentially be used in game dev. That's going to be an example. That's something that nobody really is talking about right now, but again, this is speculation. But again, if you can get this right, I really do think that you're going to have a good time. So if that video was helpful, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.